So I'm going to talk about jobs, and specifically how to get your next job as a developer. So I'm Pam Selle. I'm a software engineer. I'm not a recruiter. I'm a technical person. But I end up giving advice a lot to people looking for jobs. And so I wanted to do a talk about kind of the advice that I feel myself giving all over and over again in hopes that, hey, if I give a talk about it, maybe more people will be able to hear about it. I teach a lot of people to program, and I also run a user group in Philadelphia with over 1,000 members. So I meet a lot of technical people, and a lot of those technical people are often looking for jobs. So you might have heard, especially with, I understand this was mentioned in the documentary yesterday, that we have a hiring problem. We have a shortage of technical talent that, we have a pipeline that needs to be filled or something, and right? But do we actually? There's actually, I really like this quote, you can read it yourself, but that there's not evidence of a shortage of technical talent. There's evidence of people unable to find technical talent at the price that they're willing to pay. And that's not a shortage, just like it's not a problem that you couldn't find a half-price big screen TV. That's not really a problem. And in fact, I actually looked into one of the studies that someone was referencing of, we have a technical shortage. And if you look at the study, which I recommend if someone says something, you should look at the study and see what they actually did. They asked employers. So I think if you asked 7-year-olds if broccoli was cool, maybe they would say no. Does that make broccoli not cool? No, I think broccoli is actually fantastic. So if you ask employers, do we have a technical shortage? They say yes. Well, because I can't find a sysadmin who's willing to work for what I'm willing to pay them. That's not a shortage. So if there's not a shortage, then what is the problem? Well, to explore that, let's look at what hiring actually looks like. So hiring is difficult. So people say this a lot, but what does it actually look like? So let us explain this with stick people, where you will experience my wonderful Photoshop skills of stick people. So here we are, our illustrious stick people. We'll have Emily, the employer, on the right, and Alan, the applicant, on the left. So Alan, the applicant, hears about Emily, the employer, or doesn't even hear about. They just wander into Emily, the employer's shop. They say, Emily, I heard you have problems. I've got solutions. Let's, I can work for you and everything will go great. Emily hires Alan, everything goes fantastic, right? This is exactly how the hiring market works. No, not at all. It looks a lot more like this. So poor Emily, especially with the internet, so I have some cheat notes over here just to make sure I get everything. All right, so now, especially, if you, on Main Street, USA, if you walked into a shop, there's kind of a physical limit to how many people who can apply for a job, maybe. With the internet, it's fairly unlimited, the amount of jobs that people can apply to. People will apply to jobs by writing a letter about how much their family needs them to get a job, which isn't really a way to get a job. But it is a great way to fill up someone's inbox. And so not only does Emily have this problem, every employer has this problem, because all these applicants are measuring their success in number of applications. And so all of them are inundated with all this noise. And so when there exists a problem in the marketplace, and if capitalism is vaguely working, there enters someone to solve this problem. And here's Robin the recruiter. And so Robin the recruiter says, I got you. Those people are really annoying, asking to, be employed by you. So I'm going to help you with that, and I'm going to do it for a cool $20,000 to $30,000 for many engineering positions. That's how much recruiters make to place an engineer. If I told you you could make $20,000 to $30,000 by emailing random people and badgering them on LinkedIn, you too would probably be tempted to become a recruiter. And furthermore, that number goes up the more rare and the more difficult it is to find the person to fill the role. So recruiters are highly incentivized, in fact, to go the other way. And so now we don't just have applicants who are feeding to the recruiter and the recruiter does their job. We have the recruiter, Robin the recruiter is off badgering everyone else and saying, hey, do you want to, hey, I saw that you've done web development in the past. How about a network administrator position in Arkansas? So that would make me $20,000. That sounds great. And in fact, so you get these all the time, and so I'll forever regret the 12 hours of my life that I ever had my resume on dice.com, because all these recruiting firms have databases full of people they've crawled, and of course also your email is often just your name, so even then it's not that hard to reverse engineer, and so you get a lot of these completely worthless cold call emails. This is a piece of garbage, this piece of garbage email. It tells me absolutely nothing about the position, doesn't even tell me who they're for. It's open to discussing a key full-stack software engineering position with our premier global client. And they've consistently been listed as one of the best places to work for almost 20 continuous years. All that tells me is that the place has been open for 20 years. Like, that is literally the only thing I would know about this position. And so, schmuck at, Global Talent Services gets to send me, sends me hundreds of other people this cold email because if just one of them, gets placed, they get to see that money in the bank. And that is where the incentive is. So what the heck is going on? So how do we get, so this makes sense for somebody. So we have more annoyance, we have more noise, we have misplaced incentives because those recruiters are incentivized to be bad actors. The incentives are there for them to act like that. So you have to ask who benefits, so cui bono. So who's benefiting from the situation? Emily the employer, they're just fine, because Emily the employer has paid people to deal with their problem. So Emily now doesn't have that annoying full inbox of people begging for jobs and what have you, and they have outsourced that to a staffing firm. The staffing firm is happy because they're getting lots of money. So, and even if they aren't getting lots of money, I know that there's, your frontline recruiter often isn't well compensated because they're kind of a burn and churn amount of people. They're the recruiting equivalent to canvassers on the street who are, trying to get you to sign up for Greenpeace. The people who they get compensated, they have to send all that cold email, they don't know the market, and if they get just one, then they can move out of that position. And if they don't meet their quota, they get let go. So the person who consistently loses in this situation is the talent. It's the only person I didn't mention in that cui bono. So how do we help the talent not get sucked into this horrible position? And that is the challenge. So the challenge is that you have talent getting tons of irrelevant leads. It's difficult for talent to connect to employers. If Emily is filtering out every single resume that comes into her inbox and saying, no, I paid a recruiter to deal with that, how do you actually connect with employers when you are looking for a job and you're a talented, well-adjusted human being? And the interview process, especially for technical people, is absolutely terrible. We ask technical people to prove every single time they work for a job that they're technical people. This is not something that other industries generally do. It's not uncommon for a technical interview to span about 10 hours of work, like 10 work hours. If you've ever worked the billable hour, understand what I mean, that is work hours. That's not even including if you have to fly, if you have to travel to get that interview, the cost of taking a day off work, the emotional cost of trying to pretend like you're not looking for a job when it's really obvious that you are. That's very stressful. So how do we deal with this? So the reason for this is also I have a dream, is that I meet a lot of engineers and technical people through my networks who I see they're unhappy in the jobs that they have. And the majority of people in at least this country work for other people. So as much as there's the dream of entrepreneurship, not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, and in fact, that's probably not the best case scenario. If you're good at something, you should be able to find somewhere where you can do that and work with others to produce something of value, and that might look like a job for you. So if that looks like a job for you, I want you to be able to find the best kind of job where you can be happy, and also this not very secret agenda, because I'm about to tell you right now, is that I want people to stop working for terrible people. So if you have a job that is making you miserable, and especially if it's because you work with miserable people, I want their talent to dry up. That's what I want. So that is my agenda and how I'm going to tell you how to get a job and how you can stop working for those people ever again. That is my goal. So there has to be a better way. And so I've broken this down to my attempts to codify it into a 3-step job hunt process. And the spoiler is that this does not involve monster.com. So I call it beyond the resume, because I feel like when people give career advice, they end up focusing on, adding like the most glitter and cute animals or whatever, the ephemeral, like metaphorical glitter to your resume and your cover letter. Cover letters are good, but if that's where you focus your energy, and if you measure a job hunt in number of applications sent, you're going to have a bad time. Or at least this is what I found, and that is why it's not my preferred way to look for jobs. I don't measure it based on applications, and in fact, if I've sent out more than maybe even, now I'm probably down into the single digits when I'm looking for a job of places that I'm talking to. So if you break this down to the 3 steps, is that you hunt for targets, I don't know if the people in the back can move the mouse. This annoys me when it's on people's slides. Anyone else is also obsessed with that? But like the mouse, anyway, all right, I'd love if you would move that. So you hunt for targets, you make the first contact, and then you nail the interview. So these are big buckets of steps. And so this is kind of how you're going to flow through the job process. Yay. Close. Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. That's good. So we hunt for targets. And so this really smart person said this once, that your chances of getting a job you want vastly increase if you know what you want in a job. And so step 0, before you even start your job process, is knowing what you want. And if you don't know what you want and you're asking, I don't know what do I want to be when I grow up. If you have a problem in your past, go to therapy. If you have a problem in your future, go to coaching. That's it. All right. So in terms of if you figured out the past and you have some things that you could do, here's an exercise I recommend. And this is if this were a workshop, you could do it right now. If you're taking notes on paper, you could do it right now. So make a list of all the things that you can do. So all the things that, theoretically, someone could pay you, or that people pay other people money to do this skill. Could be, setting up servers, setting up DNS, building a simple WordPress website, building a complex WordPress website, whatever skills, and enumerate those skills. And then next to those skills, you're going to make some notes. And you're going to put notes next to the ones that you don't like doing, and then you will never do them again. That's the radical thing. So within your power, figure out the things that you do that you don't like doing, and then stop doing them. This is a really concrete path to happiness. Stop doing things you don't like. And in addition, go through and put things next to stars next to the things you enjoy, and the things you want to do more of, and the things you want to spend your time on. Figure out how to focus your energy on those things, and that'll give you some hints of what you want to look for in your next job. I feel like especially the job hunt process is way too focused on what we've done and not on what we will do. And that's how you're going to move that conversation, is to think about those things that you can do, that you want to be doing more of. And then once you know that, you look for places that need people with your skills. That's hunting for targets, so looking for places that need those skills, places that you're interested in, especially if we have technical skills, you can focus on a particular industry of, like it seems like everyone's a tech company now. Bank of America is a tech company. They all consider themselves tech companies, but really it's that every industry needs people with technical skills. So think about where you can be an interested person working for another person. So, and when you're finding targets, you talk to people, you talk to other people, and you go to the watering hole. So what I mean by that is you talk to your people. So meaning, it's so surprising how rarely this happens, that when you were thinking about looking for a job or looking for a job, tell your close contacts. So that's your people. And then after you've done that and you've gotten over that hump and you've kind of practiced saying like, hi, oh yeah, I'm looking for this thing and this is what I want to do and this is what I'm focusing on, talk to people who you know less well. We think about is that kind of, if there's like a circle of your network, it's budging that circle, creating bumps in the circle. And those loose connections actually statistically end up being your best bets for finding a job, because it makes sense if you think about it. You know about the world that your close friends already know about. You don't know about the world about the person you know a little less well. And then go to the watering hole. So that tip is to look in places, if you're just looking for lists of companies, to say, I'm going to look at these people, look at the conference sponsor list. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on stage at a conference. I actually do mean that when companies sponsor a conference, especially now in this hiring market, often they're sending a signal that they're looking for people. So they actually have open positions often. There's even, I don't know if you all know, but there's a job board downstairs. So you can go look. And of course, I highly recommend, because when people sponsor or when they support the community, such as through user groups, or they show up at community forums like your regional tech meetup and events, they're sending out signals that this is the kind of thing that they're into, which means that you all connect on a values level, which is a really important thing. So after you've found some targets, you might have already made first contact. So first contact is that first conversation, because what you want to do is exchange the application process. Remember, we aren't measuring in applications anymore. The cover letter and resume combo sent to the ignored email folder is a losing game. Exchange it for a conversation, because you're a real person and they're real people. So you want to have a real conversation with people about what their needs are first, and then see if there's a skill match for what you can do. It's about a mutual agreement. Really, when people talk about job hunting, they talk about the negotiation process. The negotiation process starts from the beginning. It starts from that first conversation. Negotiation is just a mutual agreement between two parties, and in this case, it's the mutual agreement that you would be successful in a job there. And so this is when you get into it's also a little bit of a power thing, is that instead of you asking for a job, you're looking for a mutual agreement where you can help each other, and that changes the conversation. Here's some example things you might say if you are talking to someone and trying to make that first contact, if you haven't already made it by talking to someone at a networking event. It's not uncommon if you're at a networking event or talking to a close contact that you say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Does that sound like anyone you know? And they'll say, well, that sounds like my company. Let me, put you at the top of the list, and then you have a job like days later. So you have to, if that's not what you want to happen, you might have to put some brakes on that. But let's say you have a company and you're trying to make contact. This is also common. So you say, hey, so someone you know there, you say, hey, I'm interested in talking to your company about a role there. What's the best way to do that? And the key word there is the best way to do that. Not, please tell me where your job page is. You knew that. You knew that, and if you didn't, then you didn't do your homework. But you're asking what's the best way to do that. And if they send you to the jobs page, this is what you say. So if they send you to the job, you say, hey, thanks, yeah, I did check out the page. Who could I talk to? So getting to a human being. Do you all remember when there used to be those apps that you could put in a phone number and it would route through the phone tree for you? I miss those. If you have one that still works, please send it to me. But that's kind of what you're doing. You're working on getting to a human being and having a real conversation about what they need and what you can do. If you don't know anyone at the company, here's how you find someone. You ask. So you talk to people, talk to your people, talk to other people. Hey, I'm interested in this company. Can I talk to you about what it's like to work there? Because I also say, if you're doing a cold introduction to a company and you don't know what it's like to work there at all, I ask why you're interested in that company. Because if you have some vague idea what they do, but you don't know what it's actually like to do the work on the day-to-day, you actually have no idea what it's like to work there. And so it behooves you to actually find that out. All right, and so the interview. There's actually lots of things I can say about the interviews. Not surprisingly, number one, ranting about them. But I'll leave you with 2 tips. So just 2 things I can say about how to do well in interviews. So number 1 is the biggest mistake you can make in a job interview. For the love of God, do not name a number first. This is by the most commonly given piece of advice I give, and people continue not to take it. And the reason is because that job conversation process is a negotiation all the way through. So when you say name a number first, I don't necessarily mean at the end when you're talking about the compensation package. That might be a good time to have a number conversation. I mean at the very beginning. That's when you have the least information about each other, and that's the worst time to name a number. And then how to answer any interview question. I'm running out of time, but the answer is to tell a story. And when in doubt, stop talking. So how to answer any interview question is, when you respond to an interview question, have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then stop talking. Because silence is very powerful, and especially if you listen, and you know the saying about 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you listen, people will tell you, oh, this is something my company needs, and you'll learn a lot more about them and see if you're a good fit there. All right, if you want more, I'm actually working on a book. It's an alpha, which means that you can watch while it's being written. It's on GitBooks. I can tweet it out. And thank you very much. I'm on Pamasaur, thewebwar.com. Turing Complete is our podcast. Thanks.